Every morning, Neo-Kyoto wakes up to a perfect sunrise. It paints the chrome spires in hues of rose and gold, even when the real sun is choked out by perpetual smog. The air always smells faintly of cherry blossoms, a chemical overlay to mask the stench of ozone and recycled water. Down on the streets, the cracks in the pavement are filled with shimmering light. The grime on the buildings is erased by a soft ambient glow, and the faces of the masses are smooth, serene, happy. It's all a broadcast, a citywide consensual hallucination piped directly into their optical implants. They call it the aura. I call it a cage made of light. My name is Anya Petrova. Some people who remember my old life call me Null. It's a fitting name. I see the world without the aura. My implants are old-gen, military-grade, and most importantly, air-gapped. I'm not on the network. I see the crumbling concrete. I see the desperate, hungry faces. I smell the rain that never seems to wash anything clean. I'm the ghost at their feast, the one person who sees the rot beneath the gold leaf. It makes me a hell of a private investigator. When you're looking for a man who's hiding, you need to be able to see the alleys he's actually hiding in, not the holographic Zen garden the aura has painted over them. Cheating spouses, data skips, corporate runaways, they all think they can disappear into the digital noise, but I see the raw code of the city. I see the truth, and the truth, more often than not, is ugly. The first signs were subtle. Urban myths whispered in data havens and back alley clinics where people get their implants scraped. They called it glitch sickness, a flicker in the periphery, an ad for Soma Cola that momentarily contorts into a screaming mouth before correcting itself, the face of a loved one dissolving into static for a split second. Most people blamed it on cheap hardware, a bad data packet, solar flares. They'd reboot their optics, and the perfect sunrise would return. They chose to believe the lie. I saw it differently. I didn't see the glitches themselves, but I saw the reaction. A sudden flinch from a businessman in a pristine suit. A child crying and pointing at a wall that, to me, was just a wall. A ripple of unease in a crowd, a shared phantom shudder. It was a tremor in the fabric of their reality, a bug in the system. And then the tremor became an earthquake. It happened at the nexus of the Shinjuku Loop. The automated maglev transports, gliding silently on their prescribed paths, a perfect ballet of public transit. I was tracking a data thief, standing on an overpass, watching the flow. The real view was a tangled mess of stained metal and grimy guideways. Their view was a fleet of silver swans soaring through the sky. Then it happened. The lead transport, Car 7, slammed on its magnetic brakes. A high-pitched metallic scream that cut through the city's hum. The one behind it, programmed to follow, had no protocol for a dead stop. It plowed into the first, then the third into the second. It was a chain reaction of physics, brutal and absolute. A multi-ton game of dominoes. I watched, frozen, as the silver swans of their reality were torn apart, revealing the mangled steel and sparking cables beneath. The illusion shattered. For a moment, everyone on that overpass saw what I saw. The screams were real. The fire, the smoke, the smell of burning plastic and metal, that needed no filter. The official report came out within the hour. A catastrophic hardware malfunction in Car 7's primary guidance system. A 1 in a billion tragedy. They patched the aura, scrubbed the public feeds, and by the next day, the memorial was a tasteful display of floating lanterns that concealed the scorch marks on the transit line.
The city put the lie back in place, and everyone was eager to believe it. But I had seen the black box data, leaked to me by a contact in Transit Authority for a handful of credits. There was no hardware malfunction. The transport's optical sensors had registered an obstacle, a colossal, multi-limbed creature appearing out of thin air directly in its path. A phantom, a glitch, a monster born of bad code. This wasn't a bug anymore. This was a weapon, and I was the only one who knew it. 2 nights later, the past came calling. His name was Director Ishikawa. my old boss from the Public Security Bureau, Reality Division. The man who had trained me, who had taught me to see the code in all things. The man who had signed my discharge papers, branding me unreliable, unstable, a null. He found me in my office, a shoebox suspended 20 stories above a rain-slicked street that the aura probably rendered as a canal in Venice. He looked frayed. The immaculate suit was wrinkled, but it was his face that was wrong. The aura around him was unstable. His features would flicker, momentarily replaced by a collage of brand logos, then a string of error code, then the face of a kabuki demon. He was infected, badly. "Anya," he rasped, his voice a distorted mess of his own and a dozen synthesized commercials. "They know you're air-gapped. They know you can see." "See what, Director?" I kept my hands near the heavy pistol bolted under my desk. "The new fall collection from Omnicorp? Looks like it's taken over your face." He winced, a spasm of pain crossing his glitching features. "This isn't random. It's a pattern, a signal broadcast over the public layer. It's not a virus that attacks the host. It attacks the perception of the host. It rewrites what they see." "Saw the Shinjuku crash?" I said, my voice low. "It wasn't an accident," he corrected, leaning on my desk. His hand left a sweaty, shimmering print on the metal. A proof of concept. But there's a design to it.
A purpose. I found the origin point of the signal. He slid a data chip across the desk. It was an old physical model, unhackable. The Nightingale protocol. That's the key. I don't know what it means, but it's where this all started. Before they... His eyes widened. He wasn't looking at me anymore. He was looking past me, at the window. "They're here." I turned. On the building opposite, two figures in black tactical gear were rappelling down. Bureau assassins. Their optics would be showing them a hostile target, a terrorist, a glitch that needed to be erased. "Ishipiwaka, who's they?" His face stabilized for a moment, the old, tired director looking out at me from the storm of data. "The ones who want to wake us all up," he whispered. "The ones who think truth is a cure, no matter how much it hurts." The window behind me exploded inwards in a shower of diamond-hard glass. I dove, rolling behind my desk, the pistol in my hand. The assassins were efficient. They didn't fire at me. They fired at Ishikawa. 2 clean shots. He crumpled to the floor, his last expression a silent, screaming error message. I didn't wait. I kicked out the service panel behind my desk and dropped into the maintenance crawl space, the data chip clutched in my fist. The sirens started wailing across the city, but they weren't for a murderer. They were for me. In their world, on their network, I was the one holding the gun. The aura had already rewritten the scene. I was no longer an investigator. I was a cop killer, a null who had finally gone rogue. The city became a prison. Every security camera, every drone, every citizen with an optical implant was now an enemy sensor. I was a ghost, but now I was being hunted by other ghosts. I moved through the guts of the city, the service tunnels, the sewer lines, the abandoned subway stations that weren't on any public map. The world without the aura. My world. The data chip Ishikawa gave me held a single encrypted file. Nightingale. It was a dead end without a key. I needed someone who could crack pre-aura encryption. I needed Kaido. Kaido was a data scrapper who lived in the Undercity, in a nest of humming servers and tangled cables he called the Archive. He was one of the few who chose to be air-gapped, not out of paranoia, but out of principle. He believed information had a physical weight, a reality that the network cheapened. I found him hunched over a console, his face illuminated by cascading green code. He didn't look up when I entered. "They're painting you as a monster, Null," he said, his voice raspy. "The feeds say you went psychotic, took out your old director, a real mess." "The feeds lie," I said, placing the chip on his desk. "I need you to open this." He picked it up, examining it like a rare jewel. Bureau encryption. Old school. Strong. This will cost you. "I'm paying in trouble," I told him. "Help me and you'll have all the trouble you can handle." A slow smile spread across his face.
My favorite currency. It took him 6 hours. 6 hours of me watching the city's pulse on his secondary monitors, watching the search patterns of the Bureau patrols, seeing my own face plastered on wanted posters that, in the aura, probably looked like heroic PSAs warning of a dangerous terrorist. Finally, he leaned back. I'm in. He gestured to the main screen. The Nightingale Protocol wasn't a program, it was a person. On the screen was a faded photograph, a woman with sharp, intelligent eyes. Her name was Dr. Eris Thorne, lead architect of the original Aura projection system, a visionary, a genius. According to this file, Kaito said, Thorne became disillusioned with her creation. She saw the Aura not as a tool for enhancement, but as a sensory deprivation tank for the entire human race. She argued it was dulling our instincts, eroding our empathy, making us complacent. She called it the Great Forgetting. What happened to her? I asked. She died a decade ago, a lab accident.
Her research, her protests, all of it was classified and buried. Kaito pointed to a string of code. This is her last project log, an unfinished proposal. She wasn't trying to destroy the Aura, she was trying to evolve it. She theorized that a sudden, controlled shock to the system, a forced glimpse of unfiltered reality, could reboot the human psyche. A cognitive baptism, she called it. A waking nightmare, I breathed. Exactly, Kaito confirmed. Someone found her work. Someone finished it. They're not just causing chaos, Anya. They think they're saving humanity from itself. The pattern clicked into place. The crash, the glitches, they weren't random attacks. They were targeted lessons. The transport crash wasn't just to cause terror, it was aimed at the heart of the city's reliance on automation. The facial distortions weren't just to scare people, they were to break the illusion of social harmony. They were forcing people to see the ugliness, the danger, the truth. Where are they broadcasting from? I asked. Kaito traced the signal paths, his fingers flying across the keyboard. The code coalesced into a map. It's clever. It's not one location, it's a decentralized network, piggybacking on 1,000 public broadcast nodes. But the primary signal, the one that synchronizes the whole damn thing, it's coming from the one place no one would ever think to look. He projected a schematic. It was a landmark, the Serenity Spire, the tallest structure in Neo-Kyoto, a monument to the Aura itself, with a public observation deck on top where people could gaze out at the perfect, shimmering city. At its peak was a massive broadcast antenna that fed the Aura to the entire district. They're using the heart of the system to poison it, I said. Poetry, Kaito smirked. Sick, twisted poetry. You can't shut it down from here. You have to do it manually, from the top. He looked at me, his smile fading. Getting up there, the place will be crawling with Bureau security. And every civilian, every tourist on that deck, their implants will paint you as the devil himself. You'll be walking into a hornet's nest where the hornets don't even know why they're stinging you. He was right. I couldn't fight my way through. I had to be a ghost. The ascent was a climb through hell. I used the service elevators and maintenance shafts, moving through the spire's skeleton. At every grate, every viewport, I could see the world I had to save, and the people who would try to kill me to stop me. The observation deck was a scene of curated madness. The contagion was at its peak. Tourists were screaming at walls, cowering from phantom monstrosities only they could see. Businessmen in sharp suits were swatting at the air, their faces a rictus of terror. And through it all, the Aura's gentle, ambient music continued to play. The broadcast antenna was at the center of the deck, shielded by a force field. The control panel was right next to it, and standing there, calmly watching the chaos she had unleashed, was a woman. She wasn't glitching. Like me, she was air-gapped. She turned as I approached, a sad smile on her face. She looked older, but I recognized the eyes from the photograph. Dr. Thorne, I said. It wasn't a question. My death was greatly exaggerated, she said, her voice calm and steady amidst the phantom screams. A convenient fiction to allow me to continue my work. You must be Null, the anomaly, the one who still looks at the world with her own eyes. "You're killing people," I stated, my hand on my weapon. "Am I?" she countered, gesturing to the chaos. "Or am I simply showing them the truth of the world they've ignored? A world of danger, of consequence. I am giving them back their fear. Fear is a survival instinct we traded for comfort. I am giving them back their pain. Pain is a teacher we silenced with pretty pictures. I am not destroying them. I am forcing them to live again. This isn't living. This is torture." "It is a necessary fever to break the sickness," she insisted, her voice rising with passion. "You, of all people, should understand. You chose the red pill, Miss Petrova. You chose to live in the desert of the real. I am simply pulling everyone else out of the matrix with you." She was a zealot, a true believer. You can't reason with that. I lunged for the console. She was faster than she looked, a stun baton appearing in her hand. We fought, a strange, silent ballet in the eye of a hurricane of hallucination. I was a soldier. She was a scientist. It was a short, brutal fight. I disarmed her and slammed my hand down on the emergency broadcast override. A klaxon blared, a real sound, raw and loud. On the console, a message flashed. "Aura system purge. Emergency shutdown initiated." Dr. Thorne just stood there, defeated, as Bureau security finally swarmed the deck, their optics clearing. They saw the scene for what it was. Me, standing over their revered and long-dead Dr. Thorne, the system shutting down. And then, silence. The broadcast stopped. Across the entire city, for the first time in a generation, the aura went dark. I watched through the great glass windows. The golden glow vanished. The holographic birds dissolved. The shimmering facades of the buildings reverted to stained concrete and rusted steel. The cracks appeared in the streets. The sky turned from a perfect azure to a sickly chemical gray. A collective gasp went through the observation deck, a wave of sound, of pure shock. They were seeing their city, their world, for the very first time. They looked at their hands, no longer smoothed by filters, but pale, wrinkled, real. They looked at each other, seeing the fear and confusion in unmasked human faces. The lie was dead. They took Dr. Thorne into custody. They took me too, but the questions they asked me were different now. They weren't asking a terrorist, they were asking a witness, the only one who had been awake all along. I don't know what will happen to me, or to the city. Maybe they'll reboot the aura, hand everyone the blue pill again, and let them go back to sleep. Most of them would probably take it. A beautiful dream is always easier than a harsh reality. But some won't. Some have seen the truth now. You can't unsee it. You can't unknow the feeling of cold, unfiltered rain on your skin. They called me Null because I saw nothing. The question is, now that everyone's eyes are finally open, what will they choose to look at?